So I've done all that. Good morning to anyone who's joining us on the recording. Happy you're here. Today to start, I'm going to offer you either to lie on your mat in Shavasana or whatever variation, or to sit. Some people are not comfortable in a seat or would prefer to lie, and that's fine. Either is fine. You can lie on your mat on your back, put something under your head if you need to. If you're uncomfortable with your legs long, you can bend your knees and, whoops, that's not very good demonstration. Bend your knees and even let them touch, rock together. Or you can take a seat and sit upright. This is just for the very beginning where we do a little bit of arrival and breath work to settle ourselves into class. So I'm going to take a seat for this. And if you feel like you'd like to try upright for the breath work, that's a variation that you're most welcome to take. We'll all, if you're on the floor and making yourself comfortable for your breath work and arrival, that's great too. And we will all join you there in a few minutes. This has been, as we were just chatting about, the beginning, we feel the beginnings of winter, not just fall, but cold. And this year, because of everything else, it feels threatening or hard or more than we can handle. So as you sit, you can close your eyes or focus on something in front of you. Just let your eyes be soft. Let your focus fall into the front of you. And let's first just observe our breath and feel how the breath is coming into the body to help bring our spirit and our intelligence into the body from where it's roving crazily in our crazy world. Bring it back to the home of our bodies. And observe as we do so the function of the breath. The key to helping us ground so often is the breath. And as you feel your breath, check it and see how it is today. Is it moving easily? You're not congested, or are you congested? Are your ribs open? Where's the breath going? How does it feel? Let your body soften into whichever pose you've taken. If you're sitting, the spine is long and lifted, but the hips and the shoulders, the face, the hands, the arms are all relaxed and soft. If you're on the floor, really feel that contact with the mat and the floor. And begin to let your breath lengthen. Long inhale, long, even exhale. I have a poem to read for you. This is a Robert Frost poem. I have been treading leaves on all, I'm going to start again. Erase, deep breath. I have been treading on leaves all day until I am autumn tired. God knows how all the color and forms of leaves I have trodden on and mired. Perhaps I have put forth too much strength and been too fierce from fear. I have safely trodden underfoot the leaves of another year. All summer long they were overhead, more lifted up than I. To come to their final place in earth, they had to pass me by. All summer long, I thought I heard them threatening under their breath. And when they came, it seemed with a will to carry me with them to death. They spoke to the fugitive in my heart as if it were leaf to leaf. They tapped at my eyelids and touched my lips with an invitation to grief. But it was no reason I had to go, because they had to go. So up my knee to keep on top of another year of snow. And I chose this poem because to me, it speaks of resilience. It speaks of understanding grief and fear and the eternal nature of grief and fear in our lives. But being able to let these things move past us and through us and continuing on just to see what comes next and where and what that will be. And it seems like something that we need, or that would behoove us to cultivate, that resilience of being able to move through our emotions, our fears, our sadness, and continue on. So if that is of any resonance with you, if that has any meaning to you, perhaps we will re-echo it as we move through our asanas today, that feeling of strength and resilience that we have cultivated all our lives and still lives within us. So if you are still in your seat, take one more breath. Let's take 4 more breaths, long breaths. And for all of us, breathing through from the bottom of our bodies, from either your seat or perhaps even all the way up your feet, up into the top of our bodies, all the way to the top of your head. And then let that breath flow out and down your spine, down your body, like a fountain. 4 more long breaths, even inhale and exhale, as we center and arrive for this practice. Now, if you're seated or if you're lying with your eyes closed, let your eyes gently open and find their focus. And those of you who have begun in your seat, let's join everyone else on the floor. And take a moment to just rock back and forth across the hips. Bend your knees and face your knees to the ceiling and rock back and forth across the back of your hips. I like to tilt my pelvis a little as I do this, so I get the motion up and across, up and down across the back of my pelvis. Just checking in with the back of your hips, seeing what's going on in that low back area, which can be so tender. We put stress, our posture puts stress there, our upright posture and our daily activities, and also our emotions can be there as well. So feel how that is today. And if it's tender, you might make a little memo to care for it, to be aware of it. And if it's feeling good, then promise it some gentle work and some warmth from this exercise. Let's take our arms into a spread eagle position, arms just out to a T, and begin a little bit with the shoulders rocking back and forth then on them by just taking the outer arm. I'm taking my left over my right and then reaching beyond. I rolled all the way to my right side. I'm reaching on the floor beyond my left hand. Oh, I'm sorry, I have my left hand up. I'm reaching beyond my right hand. And then I'm rolling back over my arm. My shoulder's a little sore from the flu shot. I feel that, but I'm happy to have it. Then take it to the other side, all the way over and rock onto the other hip. And roll, take that hand past, top hand past the bottom hand and see what's going on here. You may feel a little action in your neck here. If you have a person with a tender neck, beware. If you want to put something under your head to make this a little easier on your neck, please do, a blanket or a little pillow. Rolling back and forth all the way across the shoulders and stretching the arms as you do so. Let's do this 2 more times, rolling back and forth. And as we do this motion, you're also giving yourself a gentle twist to the side and rocking across the hips. So beware of any places you encounter that are feeling this in a way that might deserve attention. Then spread out on that back position again. And let's add a little more motion by doing a pelvic rock or tilt. I'm going to take my hands and interlace them and cradle my head. I like to put my hands right. There's a place where they just seem to fit comfortably. It's right where the head and the neck join, and my middle fingers fit into that area, and my hands touch both the back of the head and the neck. And it gives me a nice feeling of support. So that might be correct for you too, give it a try. And as you inhale, let the belly rise and feel that lumbar curve lift off the floor. And as you exhale, take the belly down flat. And this is that feeling of flattening that lumbar curve on the floor. Inhale and rise. When we talk about ab work, often we're saying, do something as long as you can keep that lumbar curve flattened to the floor. This is that feeling we're looking for. Because when you are working, some of this ab work that we do can be stressful on the lower back. And so if you use this as a guide, keeping that lumbar curve flat, or at least very close to flat, then you will be protecting your lower back and working the abs instead. And you can add to this by actually, as you exhale, lifting the head and chest a wee bit. And as you inhale, if your neck is feeling okay, you might want to tilt your chin towards the ceiling as you inhale. And so as you lift, you can lift your head and chest, engaging those abs. And as you exhale, lift the chin, the belly lifts by itself, and press the elbows into the ground. 2 more times like that. Really feeling some back and forth in that pelvic region. As you warm up, you can exaggerate it. Now let's add to this. If the pelvic tilt is right for you, you can stay there. If that's the right exercise for you, if you want to try a little bit more action, try lifting and taking the right leg towards straight. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Lift it up so the foot is parallel to the ceiling with a flexed foot. And then as you exhale, you can lift towards that leg. And as you inhale, let's see, do I have that right? Let me think for a moment. We're going to do it the opposite, right? We're going to inhale and lift up towards the foot. And that's the opposite of the breath we usually use. and exhale and settle to the floor. Inhale and lift up to the foot, and exhale and settle that to the floor. Inhale and lift up. Now, if you want just a little more, you can leave it up. Exhale and leave and flatten down. One more. And back to the floor. Bend the right knee or the knee you had up and straighten the other leg towards the ceiling. Again, it's perfectly fine to have a bend in that leg. We'll begin the same motion. A little bit of a pelvic tilt can stay in this, so you can lift up a little bit as you lower the leg to the floor. Inhale, lift up. Exhale and come down. Usually we exhale with compression, but we're doing the opposite today. And this can happen in this yoga work. Sometimes you will find yourself using an opposite breath just because the opposite breath of what the yoga teacher says feels natural to you. No need to panic. That's just the nature of the human body. Everybody's a little different. I'm going to leave my leg up for the last 4. The important thing is to keep your breath moving as you work. And if you come to a point ever where you can't find, let's finish with this, if you cannot find that deep, full yoga breath, then it's time to adjust the pose, take it down a step or come out for a moment and find that breath again. We're going to play with another twist on the floor. Actually, this is just a leg twist. You can take your legs and cross them at the knee. I have my right leg on top, and then bend the legs. This takes us into the Gomukhasana cow face pose. And we can begin enjoying this by taking hold of whatever you can grab. It could be your knees or your shins or maybe down towards your ankles and pulling those legs gently towards you. This is a nice stretch. You'll feel it on the outside of the top hip probably. That's what we're looking for. It's the same area we stretch with figure 4 pose. And this, oddly enough, although this is a strong stretch, it is easier on your knees. If figure 4 ever bothers your knees, you might want to come into this pose instead. If we're doing it on your back, you can just do it just like this, Gomukhasana or cow face pose. Now, after release the pull, and we're going to try something else by bringing the feet together and taking the knees towards tabletop. This is pretty strong too. You may feel it a lot in your hips. If your hips bother you, just loosen this up. If you're okay, take it as far as you can. And for some people, you'll even be able to wrap your toes around your ankle. This is purely a function of how your legs are constructed. And it's not available to everybody, but perhaps that works for you. Now, we're going to take the arms and work with the arms. We're going to take the left arm on top and cross the arms. And you can just take your arms back to your shoulder blades. That's a nice stretch, just right there. Or if you have room, you can bring the back of your hands together. Back of the hands together. And so the arms are making a kind of a L shape, echoing the legs. And from here, this may be plenty. If this is plenty for you, just stay here and breathe. And if you need to come out, come out. But you can try moving the knees and elbows away from each other and then pulling them in. We are actually in the shape of eagle pose. We're doing it on the floor. If you need to put your feet on the ground, please do so. Let's just do this one more time. And then everybody put your feet on the ground. And just take a moment and feel this shape. It's very compressed. We're very folded up. There's even a further step of wrapping the arms where the palms come together, which perhaps someone can do and perhaps not. It's all of the work that we just did with the arms, from just crossing them to putting the back of the hands together, is going in the same direction. So you get off this bus wherever you need to stop. The point is to find the stretch for yourself, not to achieve any certain version of the pose. But feel the total pose and how compressed it is. And you can imagine that if we were standing, we're going to compress it even more to have the strength and stability to stand. But for a moment, just press the arms into each other and the legs into each other. Press the belly down to the floor. Feel all of that. And then release. And stretch out long on the floor. Push the heels away and the toes away. I mean, the hands, the fingertips away and the heels away. Feel that long stretch, long stretch. You can take it with the right arm and left leg away from each other, then the right arm and right leg away from each other. Deep breath. Just take a moment on the floor here to breathe. And then let's try that floor eagle on the other side. So first, just bend your legs, feet up flat on the floor, knees pointing up, and then cross with the opposite leg. I had the right leg on top first, so I'm putting the left leg on top now. Is that right? Yes. Yes, that's right. And feel that cross, then bring those legs up towards the chest. Again, you can reach towards the ankles, grabbing whatever is available, and pull those knees and legs towards your body. See if you can keep your hips on the ground as you do this. And you're looking for that same stretch we find in figure 4 on the outside hip of the leg that's on top. And breathe into whatever stretch you find there. This is a little bit awkward, obviously. It's one of those poses that people must have been seeing when they described the first yogis that were seen in America as tying themselves into pretzels. But it's not unattainable, even for most of us. We just take the variation that works for us. Then take the knees to then bring the feet more together, whatever that looks like for you. And if you can achieve a wrap, that's pretty cool, but it's certainly not necessary. Take those knees to the tabletop position, and the opposite arm, the right arm, will come on top. Again, if this bothers your hips, you can soften it or take your feet to the ground. And then try that, bringing the knees together and the arms together and reaching slightly away. Arms together, knees together, reaching slightly away. We'll do 2 more of those. We already did it on the other side. Then everyone place the feet on the floor if you're not there already. And press the knees, the legs, the feet, the hands, the arms into each other. Activate all those muscles. This is one of the most folded and compressed poses in yoga. I've heard people say it activates more muscles than any other pose. I don't know who's ever done a survey of those. Certainly does affect most of your body. This is the eagle pose on the ground. And then after you've done this strong compression and activating everything, let go. And again, stretch long in the ground and let the blood rush into the parts that have just been bent and compressed. All right. Let's take the knees up to the sky, feet on the floor. Heel toe your feet to the edges of the mat and stretch the arms long, and then let either just the right knee or both knees, depending again on what is comfortable for you, fall to the left. And with an inhale, bring them up and take them to the right, one or both knees. You want to have it, would be the left knee. So it's the inside or knee that's going to be on top. The outside, I guess it would be the outside of the leg. It's the one that, if you just want to do one knee at a time. And let those come back and forth with your breath. Say 3 more times. And feel the hips release from here in case that eagle pose was a little bit much for you. All those poses are different and interesting. Then let the knees rise. Take the feet back to hip width. Let's do one bridge pose before we move along. So take your arms long at your sides and then bend the elbows so that the hands are pointing up towards the sky. The palms are open towards each other across your body. Press the feet into the floor, engage the belly, and lift the hips. It's early in class yet. This might be a small pose for you, or you may feel like you've got some room to wiggle your shoulder blades under the body. Press the knees away, and those inseams, as if you had inseams on your jeans, are working towards each other, creating a slight internal roll or orientation of the legs. Feet are flat on the floor. Legs are keeping in towards each other. All that interior work is to keep the legs from splitting open or falling open. You can press into your upper arms. And if you feel your ribs popping out, see if you can relax them down. And let's do 3 breaths here. Of course, if you want to come out or need to come out sooner, please do. And take a survey of how this feels. Do you feel it in your shoulders or your legs? It's a strength pose. The back of your legs is working hard. Your knees are pushing away. But you can relax your face, relax your neck and your head. Then everyone lift your heels and roll down through the spine to a nice flat position. We'll take a breath here. Then you can roll all across your spine to a seat and come to hands and knees. Or you can roll to one side and use that upper hand to push yourself up, whichever is more appropriate for you today. We'll come to hands and knees, so take your time and feel that change of gravity as you come to hands and knees. And if you would like to protect your knees with a blanket on the mat, that's fine. For some people, that's not a problem. Some of us like as much padding as we can get. And when you get here, when you arrive on hands and knees, just take a wiggle. Take a wiggle all around for yourself. Explore. You can explore moving your shoulders so that you're stretching your sides or churning your ribs. We're beginning a cat-cow flow. Wiggling the hips as if you're a dog and you have a tail you can wag. Just find your orientation, play with it for a moment. And then you can settle yourself down. And let's do a cat-cow here, just 3 or 4 to begin with. Spread those hands wide, and in-breath allows you to relax your shoulders and your belly and let your heart and chest move forward. The exhale takes you towards the Halloween cat position. We're almost at Halloween. Inhale, let the chest relax down through. Exhale and roll up. Make sure you get a stretch in your hips as well as your shoulders on the exhale. And as we continue this, you're welcome to take it farther by coming towards child's pose as you relaxing your hips back as the exhale, and the inhale, you can move your hands slightly forward and come towards half plank. So make it into a bigger ripple if you have the flexibility and the ability to do that today, if that feels good to you. You can stay with the cat-cow if that's a better choice for you today. Whichever is right. See if you can really feel that flow of the spine, the rippling through the vertebrae, as if you could separate them and they could move one at a time. Keep the breath moving through the body as you work. This kind of motion really allows the cerebral spinal fluid to be activated and encourages its circulation. So really good for you. There may be someone in this group who has a fused disc or a damaged disc, and that may move. You may feel like you're moving it as in a fluid motion and then hit a little dam. And that's okay. That's in your spine. You just move along that dam and continue with the fluid motion when you reach to the other side, being really considerate and gentle with that area that's been damaged. And let's return to hands and knees here. And we are going to come all the way to the floor again, except we're going to come on our belly. So if you would like to take a moment in half plank or plank, you can join me in holding that. Or you can relax to the floor right away and do some deep breathing in a front Shavasana pose. I'm going to hold plank for a minute. You can hold half plank. You can hold full plank. And if you are planking with me, check your hands and see if you can move your weight towards the knuckle part of your fingers rather than way back on your wrists. And check your trunk and see if you can imagine you have a wide belt compressing your body to a little tiny waist. And that activates those side muscles, the long muscles along the abdomen, and also the thin muscles that sheath and enclose all those other muscles. And when you're ready, you can put down your knees or lower all the way from plank down to belly on the floor. Let's everybody orient again towards belly on the floor, and stack the hands and put the forehead on the hands, rock back and forth on the hips in crocodile pose. And take a deep breath here. Let's take 2 deep breaths. And then stretch the arms out in front of you. The forehead will go towards the floor. And if you still have your glasses on, that may be a problem. Also, if you have a really big nose, that's a problem too. But people like me with big noses have learned to deal with that. So relax the forehead towards the floor. And let's see. Yes, stretch the arms long and feel the belly engage. And stretch the legs long. Press the legs into the floor. The front of the feet and the toes are pressing into the floor. And stretch that right leg really long away from the body, and engaging the belly. Lift it up. Keep the hip bone on the floor. It's just the leg that's lifting. It's not going to lift very far, a few inches, an inch, whatever you have. Lift it up, keep pulling it away. Inhale and then exhale and relax that leg. We'll do the same thing with the left leg. First of all, stretch it long, belly engages, and then lift it up and away. Feel the strength of the back of the leg. Now I'm going to offer you taking the opposite arm up with the leg. If this feels like too much, you can stay with this, just the legs, or alternate arm and leg. So as you lift that right leg up and back, also lift the left arm away and up. That's on the inhale. The exhale, relax down and change sides. Left leg lifts up and back. Right arm. And down. One more on each side, starting with the right leg, left arm. The head may want to come with, just let the head do what it wants. And relax down. Left leg, right arm. Relax down. Now I'm going to ask you to do one more on each side. Lift up and away, right leg, left arm. Of course, if you don't have it in you, you do not have to do it. Always optional, always stop when you're ready. Left leg, right arm. Relax down. Again, bend those arms. Place the forehead on the wrist. Deep breath, 3 deep breaths. Rock back and forth across the hips. One more piece of work on the floor with while you're on your belly. Let's take the elbows back under the shoulders, bend the elbows, shoulders on top of elbows, and the legs are alight, activated, pressing into the floor, the belly is lifted. If this is too much, you can take your arms wider, or you can move them slightly forward. Adjust the elbows in a way that you can be here and work a little bit on the stretch of the upper back with a certain amount of comfort. It's not necessarily easy, but it should not be painful, should not be overly stressful. Again, you should be able to keep that nice long yoga breath. When you find the right adjustment of your arms, make sure you're keeping those legs working, the belly alive. Lift the head so you can look forward, not directly forward necessarily, but on the floor, perhaps 6 feet in front of you. Lift the back of the head. See if you can get those shoulder blades to relax back onto your back. And the sternum moves forward. The heart opens. The heart opens as the shoulders melt back. And breathe. Relax down to crocodile pose one last time. Deep breath. Rock back and forth on the hips. And then push with your hands to come to hands and knees. Let's spread the legs open, the knees apart from each other, feet together, and relax back into child's pose. I know some of you probably don't have the hips all the way down. That's fine. The hips can come to the heels, but they don't for all of us, and that's just fine. Relax your head down. If your head doesn't touch the floor in this pose, you might want to stack your fists to relax your head. Sometimes just crossing the arms is enough, or you can place a block on your head as well. so that your neck can relax. And breathe. And roll up so you're sitting towards your knees, and let's come all the way up to standing. Now I hope I mentioned, that we're going to use, that if you have 2 blocks or 1 block, bring them to the front of your mat. And if you don't have blocks, you can use something like, there's an ottoman here, this could work. Or if you have a little step stool, that could work. And if you don't have anything available that would work as a prop here, don't worry, we'll accommodate that as well. So we're going to come to the front of the mat, and first let's find mountain pose. So standing tall, starting at the feet. Feel the feet comfortably on the floor, raise and lift the toes and lower them. Let the outside of your feet be alive and feel the arches rise. Shoulders come back over the hips, and then the ears relax back towards the shoulders. Lift the arms with an in-breath all the way to the cloudy sky. And bring some light to your heart. Then bend the knees and let the bum, the booty move back into chair pose. Chair pose, lightning pose, sometimes called awkward pose. And some of us will relate to why they call it awkward pose. If possible, you can take your arms straight up by your ears. That's pretty hard. That's really hard for you. Try taking either your arms really wide or your arms to cactus. Here you are in chair pose. But we're going to reach forward to our prop or our blocks and step back still with the knees really bent. You want to have something here where you can put some weight or balance a little bit. So you can actually do this with a wall too. If you really don't have a pose, you can touch the wall, and that will help you. Because what we're going to do from here is with the hands on your support, lift your toe, lift your heels. And if your feet don't bend this way, just hang with us. Lower the heels and rock back and lift the toes. So we're rocking all the way through the feet. Occasionally, one of you may have a stiff toe or a couple of stiff toes that don't bend into that forward position. Just do what you can. Lift up with the heels, rock back through the toes. You can be balancing on whatever is available. Let's do it twice more. Back through the feet. Forward through the toes, back through the feet, and then up onto the toes, then lower the heels and come to a straight back forward fold. So whatever, you can do this with your hands on your shins or your thighs or the block. You can bend your knees, just find that nice flat back, forward fold. Now, if you have blocks, take your blocks onto the flat position and place your hand towards the back of the block, palm of hand towards the back edge, and stretch the hand wide around the block. And if you don't have blocks, you can have your hands on the floor for this. We're going to step back to down dog. Now, if you don't do down dog, you can step back to hands and knees. But if you do down dog, step back to hands and to down dog and press your weight back into your heels, stretch the arms long. If you don't do down dog, you can come to puppy dog with the arms long. And bending the knees, really reach those hip bones up to the sky. So if you're in puppy dog, it will look like this. And breathe into that position. And then if you're in down dog, experiment with straightening the legs a little bit. From here, we're going to step one leg forward. This can be hard. If you're up with your hands on the blocks, it should be pretty easy. Just step that knee under your chest. It is much harder from the kneeling position. So just do what you need to do. If you need to stand up and maneuver that leg, if you need to give that leg a help, whatever you need, take that right leg forward. We're going to come into crescent lunge. So the back toes are turned under. I have the right leg forward. And this can be a low lunge if it's more appropriate for you. You can have your knee on the floor. So high or low crescent lunge. Take your hands onto that front thigh. Find your balance. And then lift the arms all the way up. And if you want to be up, but you cannot do crescent lunge because of your back foot being stiff, you can turn the foot and take it into warrior one. So you have a couple of options here. High crescent, warrior one, or low crescent. Whichever is right for you today. Take another full breath here. Then let's open the arms wide, back like into the Superman. Well, not quite Superman cape because we have our palms open. A big, wide, open position. And then exhale. And bring those arms around yourself. Open wide. And take the arms around yourself. Open wide. And take the arms around yourself. Exhale. Now come back to the open position. Everyone who's standing, take that back heel down. And you may have to heel toe the front foot a little bit open, a little bit away from the back heel to get the correct footprint for warrior one. Take a moment to stabilize here. You can use your hands to lengthen the back of your pelvis. Bring them around to feel those hip bones working towards each other. One more deep breath here. We're going to come to humble warrior. So you have a couple of choices here. You can take your hands to the blocks and just lean forward over that front knee. You can take your hands to your hips and do that same motion. Or you can interlace your hands behind your back or hold a strap. The hands can't find each other back here. You can take a strap between your hands, or even just pretend you have a strap. And have your hands behind you as you come forward. And your chest may not come to your knee, that's fine. Wherever you come forward is where the right distance for you. You're finding a stretch there, finding a release. And if you have your hands behind you, you can give yourself a little shoulder rinse by starting to lift those hands away from the back. One deep breath here. Relax. You can relax the head down. Take one more deep breath. You can be up here, wherever you are. Keep the top hip, the right hip moving back. If you shake a little bit, it's okay. Those are building neural pathways. Let yourself roll gently up. Hands on hips. Deep breath. Step forward. Now, move those hips. Breathe. That was a lot of work in that one position. So take a moment to stabilize yourself. We're going to do the same thing with the left leg moving back. And this time, since we're not starting from the floor, you can just step the left leg back. Start in one of those positions, the same three choices you had before. Lift it up to crescent lunge, low lunge, or the back foot back to warrior one footprint. I'm confused if I'm doing it. I think it has to be, it has to be right leg back on this side. Forgive me, I was repeating. So right leg back, either up, down, or in warrior one. Probably most of you caught that. And feel that warrior one or crescent lunge. Feel your strength here. Again, relax the back of the pelvis. Let those hip bones move towards each other and the legs compress towards each other to help you find your balance. For a flow here, let's straighten the front leg a little bit and let the arms come down to cactus. Come deep into the lunge. Straighten the front knee, cactus arms. Then an inhale, exhale, lower. And one more time, you can work those elbows back in cactus, really pinching the shoulder blades together. And raise. Then we'll work towards whatever variation of humble warrior on this side, and it may be different than the other side. You can use your blocks and come forward, have your hands on your hips and come forward, or, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention you need to change back to warrior one. So the back leg is on the floor. It's no longer the lifted heel position, it's down. And as on the other side, you may have to adjust your hips. And then letting that top hip move back. The front be long back. Take you as if you could lay your chest onto that leg. You can relax your head. And if your shoulders have room, you can interlace your hands behind your back and let those arms lift a little bit to make a little bit of a shoulder stretch as well. Whichever position you're in, you can release your leg if that's good for your head. Release your neck if your neck is able to handle that. It's a nice neck release, as long as you don't have a very tender or sore neck. Deep breaths. And then let yourself push into that front leg and rise up. Rise up. And let's step forward and find your mountain pose again. So I'm going to move the blanket off the mat. We'll be coming to our knees for a little while here. So find mountain pose, hands on hips. Let's step open to warrior two. So warrior two, feet are in line with each other, usually heel to heel, perhaps heel to arch, and the hips rather turn towards the long side of the mat. Open, a very open position. We still have the blocks here available for you. Let the front knee open wide, the opposite hip roll under, and the arms rise up, stretch away from each other. Shoulder blades relax onto the back, and the head moves gently towards that front hand. Feel the strength of the feet on the floor, pushing into the floor, lifting you. The belly holds you and lifts you. And those legs pull in towards each other, giving a really strong base. Then let's reach the front arm forward and bend that elbow. And if possible, place it on your thigh. It may be that you need to just place the hand on the thigh, depending on how much give you have as you move your torso over that front foot, that front leg and thigh supporting you. Let the body roll open towards the wall in front of you. And that starts from the hip, carries on through the abdomen and the shoulder. Take that arm out, and you can reach it over your ear or straight up, whichever way works for you. And from here, if your neck is feeling good, you can actually add a head release. It feels a little dangerous. So if you're tentative or tender in the neck, you may want to keep your strength and hold the head up. But actually, it's not any different than the normal head release we do. It's just in a different position, so it looks kind of crazy. And breathe. Let that top arm lift you up. Take the feet forward. And let's take the heels towards each other so the feet are out at an angle, about 45 degrees. And bend the knees and give yourself a little bit of release here. Deep breath. Straighten the knees and take the shoulders up and back and down. One more time, up and back and down. Lift the arms all the way up to the sky again. Bring whatever light you can find to your heart. Then rotate the right toes out so the foot is parallel to the long edge of the mat. You may need to wiggle these the back foot a little bit back to find that long warrior two stance. Again, the right knee works away, the left hip rolls under. Legs are pulling towards each other, arms rise, and the head goes over that front foot. Then the front hand reaches forward to find whatever you have for the side angle pose. Rotating out from the hips and the belly so that your front is very parallel to this front wall as you reach forward, creating this angle in your hip and your torso becoming steeper. And if you can come with your hand to your elbow onto your thigh, that's great. May well be up here. Take the arm straight up or over the ear. And again, play with the head release. Is that okay for you? Can you find it? Does it feel good? And breathe. Let the top arm lift you up. Belly is strong. Rotate both toes forward so your feet are in parallel position. Take your block and Place it in front of you. You ready? Let's take a deep breath here. We're coming forward. We're going to do a little bit of trunk rotation here. One more deep breath. Bend from the hips, and you can place your hands here or have the block on the flatter side or use the floor, whatever is comfortable for yourself. You want to keep a nice flat back. Take the right arm away, let the left arm take your weight, and keeping that long back, head reaching away from the hips, open the right arm, giving yourself a nice spinal twist. The hips are solid and strong. The twist is in the mid and upper torso. And exhale that down. Then inhale the left arm up, same thing. Inhale up and release down. Let's do it twice more each side. Lift with the breath and release down. Lift with the breath and release down. Now find your long back forward fold again. Place hands on hips and engage the belly. You can roll up or you can come up with a flat back, whichever feels best and most natural to you today. Heel toe those feet together and come to mountain pose facing forward. That was quite a bit of work in the hips there. Let's come to the wall. And we're going to work on the same pose we worked on the floor. We're going to work on eagle pose. So coming to the wall, or whatever you're using as a support system for balancing on one foot. You get a wall, you get a chair, you have a counter, whatever works for you. So we have several, again, when we're doing this pose, we have several variations that are available. First of all, just find yourself nice and steady. Make sure you have a focal point or drishti in front of you, something that doesn't move. Find your alignment, and chin moving back. And let your right leg become very strong and the left leg become light. From here, bend the knees, both knees bend, and then lift the right leg over the left. You have your hand on your balancing aid. And there's another trick, like if you would like to, you can take a block, take one of your blocks and put it on the outside. For me, it's the right foot that's next to the wall. Put it on the outside of the foot that's by the wall. And if you have this, then when you lift your foot, you can place it on that block. Sometimes it makes this accessible where it just doesn't work very well without. Whichever you choose, using the block or not, pinch those pinch those legs into each other, scissor them together so they're crossed and they're pushing towards each other. Belly is strong. The bum can move back, just like you're in chair pose. Bum can stick out towards the back. And then, if you want to try the arms, you can start just with balancing in prayer or hands on the hips. If you feel like you have more stability and more to give, more to use, then take the right arm over the left into that embrace or back of the hands together. And press the arms into each other just as you press the legs into each other. And keep breathing. This is chair pose, and your chair may tip. That's all right. You just can bring the chair right back up again. You can release and come just to the legs, or you can keep working at it. 2 more deep breaths here. And then untwine everything and give your hips a little rotation, a little hula figure 8 motion. Deep breath. Let's try it on the other side. Eagle pose. So you can move this block to the outside of the other foot. For me, it's the left. Feel the left leg become very strong as both knees bend, and hook the knee over the outside foot over the top. The block is right there if you want to use the block, really stabilizing. If you want to go without, that's fine too. You happen to have room to twine your legs all the way around. It looks like this. They come around, and then the toes come around the outside of the other leg. So that, as I said, it's an anatomy thing, just not there for everybody. But perhaps you can find it or work towards it or imagine it, visualize it, and sink down as those legs compress in towards each other. The bum can move back away, helping you be low and balanced, and you begin to work for your balance. This time, if you have your right leg on top, the left arm will go on top. Keep breathing. Keep focusing on your drifting. Keep the breath moving. If you fall out, that's just fine. You can come back or you can take a break. That block is there for you. You can use that if you need it. And one more breath. Rise out and give yourself a shake and a little bit of rotation. Eagle pose. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Let's do one more release while we're standing. So come to warrior 1. Come to the top of your mat and step back into warrior 1 leg position. But keep that front leg straight. The front foot is parallel with the long edge of the mat. The opposite toes, the back toes are reaching forward. Hips are separated. Feet are separated. Hips are reaching towards the front of the mat, orienting towards the front edge of the mat. And you can place your blocks here. We're coming into pyramid pose. You may have done this before. It provides a stretch for the back of this front leg. Hands on hips, we're going to bend forward with a straight back, and you can take your hands to the blocks whenever you're ready. Make sure you have this front hip moving back, the back hip moving front. So we're trying to keep this nice straight line across the hips. Find some stability with your blocks or your hands on the floor. Take a long breath to straighten the back and then see what you have, how much room there is to move forward. Again, the back is staying straight as if you're going to lay yourself up flat along that front leg. The front hip is moving back like in downward dog. And you can relax the head, looking for that stretch in the hamstring mostly. If you find that you feel this mostly in your knee or your hip, adjust yourself however you need. You can come up, shorten your stance, whatever you need to do to move that stretch more towards the big, strong center of that muscle rather than the connecting points. Then breathe into whatever sensation you find. When I'm doing a stretch like this, I like to lengthen my breath on the inhale, and on the exhale, make sure I'm pulling my belly in and even Mula Bandha and relax forward. And press into the blocks. Bring that weight into the front foot. You can climb up your leg to stand. Reach forward, step forward. Find mountain pose. Take a nice breath in mountain pose. Take hands on the hips and step the opposite foot back. Again, into your warrior one footprint. Find those hips rotating so they face the front of the mat. With this pose, you want to make sure you're not hyperextending that front leg. So if you know you're a person who does that, who presses back into the knee and takes it past a 180 shape, you might want to keep a micro bend in that leg. One thing that helps with that also is really pressing the foot into the floor and engaging the quad. That makes it a little harder for most of us to hyperextend. So hands on the hip joints. Feel that back come forward with an exhale. You can have your blocks here or come to your thigh and find the place where you begin to get some action, some real sensation. Long back, then you can release your head there and see what you have to give, how much room there is to move today. 3 long breaths here. See if you can enjoy this. Can you find the place where it feels right? It may not feel exactly good. It may be slightly challenging or uncomfortable, but it's not painful, and it's a feeling of the same feeling you get when the masseuse hits that place. You go, oh yeah, right there, yeah, I need that. And send your breath into that feeling. Now, in breath, come to a straight back, step forward, and rise all the way up. We're going to come to the ground and do a couple more stretches. So you can do this however you wish, whatever works for you to get down comfortably to the ground. Let's take something to sit on. Take a blanket or a couple of blocks. Come to a comfortable seat. And we'll do another head release. We did that. We did one in side angle pose. Some of you may have chosen not to do that because it certainly appears a little bit daunting. So let's find a nice position in our seat, wherever you are, and line up the shoulders over the hips and take the head back. We're going to take this right arm out and fold it behind. It can be just your hand on your sacrum, or perhaps the hand crosses all the way around, but that's pinning this shoulder back. And from here, we're going to take a head release in the opposite direction. So start by releasing the head forward. You're still sitting up tall with a long neck, but the chin is falling forward. And from here, look over towards the opposite shoulder. Just really move slowly. You don't want to strain or stress. We're just exploring what's in the neck today. And then let the head release, the ear release towards the shoulder. I have my left ear going towards my left shoulder, my right arm is back. And I have my left hand is just on my lap here. If you're finding it really difficult to let go of the head, you might try the cradle move. Sometimes there's a factor where this muscle is so tense and stiff that it's frightening to depend on it. The body is resistance. So if that's true for you, you can try bringing the opposite arm up, not putting any weight on the head here, just providing a place for the head to nestle so that the head feels safe, the neck feels safe as it starts to release. You can also move your head back and forth, looking up or down and towards your chin, towards your chest, or away from your chest. Just nestling and moving the head, looking for the best stretch. Try moving your ears back, the chin back. Where are you getting the most sensation here, the best stretch for you? And then when you find the right position for yourself, supported or not supported, wherever the head finds a good release, send your breath into that work. It's if your breath is a lubricant for this very stiff muscle, like imagine like this is gauze that's filled with Elmer's glue, and your breath is warm water that starts to melt that glue. And take the hand on the side you're leaning towards and lift the head. And take a shoulder shrug here. We'll do the other side by tucking the arm around again to pin the shoulder down and back. And with a breath, release the head forward to begin with, and then move towards the side and feel what can you find? Where is a good stretch? And of course, if it helps, provide that cradle or support for the head so that the neck doesn't feel traumatized by this large release. The neck is built to hold the head, but our necks do so much work and suffer quite a bit of abuse. And they do develop trauma in there. I mean, if you've ever been in a car accident or somehow else stressed or snapped your neck uncomfortably, you know what I'm talking about. It's a classic place to store tension, to store emotion. Let that breath really work for you. Then the arm on the same side as your head where it's leaning lifts you up so you don't have to engage this muscle right away. Another 2 good shoulder shrugs. And we're coming to the ground. We're not quite ready for Shavasana yet. We're going to do a couple more stretches here. Come all the way down. Let's tent the legs, feet on the floor. Walk that heels towards the outside of your mats. And we're going to do windshield wipers again. You can also add the arms by taking elbows in hands, making sure the shoulders are resting on the ground. The shoulder blades are on your back as much as possible. And then as you let your legs go, one leg or both legs go to one side, take the elbows to the other side. The head can go whichever direction feels best. Feel that release. And breathe in, take it up, and relax to the other side. You can do this in breaths. Every time you breathe in, coming to center and relaxing. Or if it feels better, spend 2 or 3 breaths on one side and then move to the other. Just depending on what's happening for you with the stretch. And end with the legs and elbows up. Release the elbows. Let's bring the knees in towards the chest. Rock back and forth across the hips. Just as we did at the beginning of class, you can take them away and towards your body as you do this rock, to feel all the way from the top of your sacrum down towards the bottom of your bum here. Let's bend the knees, pull them into the chest, and reach the feet up and reach towards your feet. You can grab your calves, your ankles, or perhaps the outside of your feet to pull your feet down into happy baby. And you can stay stable here or rock. You experiment with straightening one leg at a time or taking the leg towards straight. Really feel into it. Then release the feet. Place the feet at hip distance on the floor. And let's open the arms wide and rock the hips to one side and just feel that stretch. Then bring the knees together and then take them towards the other side and do a little twist. This time you can look away from your knees. The knees don't have to go all the way down, depending on how your back is feeling, and release those up. It's time to get ready for Shavasana. So you can get yourself set up. We have time for a pretty good Shavasana. So I always recommend putting a blanket under your knees, or if you have something you can put your feet up on, like this little ottoman or a chair. That's a lovely way to do Shavasana. It's like a mini inversion. And if you feel better with something under your head, you can always have something under your head. If your house is cool today, take a blanket or something over yourself, put your jacket back on. Get yourself nicely settled for Shavasana. If you know that you would like a long Shavasana today, you can get settled in Shavasana and turn off your device or shut off the sound so that you can just stay here as long as you like, as long as it's good for you. And if not, I will be with you and bring you out in time to end the class normally. So get yourself arrived into your Shavasana. If you would like, I invite you to take your hands, your fingertips around the back of your head. Let's see, it's like make spider hands and put them, so your thumb is on your jaw and then your fingers are on the back of your head. And imagine you can tilt your chin in and then lift that chin and head back from your body. So giving yourself a little encouraging, it's probably more psychological than physical, psychological lengthening of the back of that neck. And you can do the same thing for your hips by bending your legs, tilting your hips, and then tilting your hips so that the back of your pelvis, your sacrum, is very squarely on the floor, and then lengthening one leg at a time. Then let them roll open. Let your palms face the ceiling. Your eyes close. Your eyes close and release into the floor. Really let go. And I'll read the poem once again as you're beginning Shavasana. It's called A Leaf Treader by Robert Frost. I have been treading on leaves all day until I am autumn tired. God knows all the color and forms of leaves I have trodden under and mired. Perhaps I have put forth too much strength and been too fierce from fear. I have safely trodden underfoot the leaves of another year. All summer long, they were overhead, more lifted up than I. To come to their final place in earth, they had to pass me by. All summer long, I thought I heard them threatening under their breath. And when they came, it seemed with a will to carry me with them to death. They spoke to the fugitive in my heart, as if it were leaf to leaf. They tapped at my eyelids and touched my lips with an invitation to grief. But it was no reason I had to go, because they had to go. So up my knee to stay on top of another year of snow. Let your breath become longer. Begin to tune in to the room around you. Feel the air moving on your skin. Listen to whatever little sounds are going on. And then move in whatever way best brings you back into the moving, working phase of your life, the moving operational phase rather than the resting. Take a deep breath and roll to your right. Take one more breath there before you come join me in the seat. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making time for yourselves. I wish you what resilience and strength you need to keep on through this crazy world. Namaste. I'm going to stop the recording here.